Hey, what's going on YouTube? It's Pyromancer here. Welcome back to my channel. Hope you're all having a wonderful day, morning, afternoon, evening, whatever time it is, wherever you are in the world. And we are back at it. Today I want to talk about the end time because as I said in my last video, I think that the end time is actually transpiring in WoW right now in BFA, and there's a couple of reasons why I think that. And of course, the best way to show you this is to look back to the end time dungeon from Cataclysm. If you guys aren't familiar, perhaps if you didn't play it back in Cataclysm, there was actually a time where we teamed up with the Bronze Dragonflight in order to locate the Dragon Soul. Now we're going to try to get our hands on the Dragon Soul in order to stop Deathwing, of course, the main antagonist of Cataclysm, who just by random chance calls himself Death Incarnate and also refers to himself as the Unmaker of Worlds. But I digress. The end time is a dungeon in which we basically go through time into the future to a desolate and destroyed version of Azeroth. And in this future, we see some interesting things. For example, Deathwing impaled upon the top of Dragonblight. And if I'm not mistaken, I want to say Chronicles says something about how this is what N'Zoth planned for Deathwing to do. N'Zoth wanted Deathwing to kill himself by basically impaling himself, which is very interesting. But all of that being said, I think that this is happening in WoW. Now, most people would point to the echoes that are found in the end time, and they would use that as the example. And I'm going to touch on that really quick. We're going to talk about them. There's an echo of Tyrande, an echo of Sylvanas, Bane Bloodhoof, and the last one is of Jaina Proudmoore. So we have Tyrande, Jaina, Bane, and Sylvanas. And there's little descriptions for each of them. Let me quickly read to you the dungeon journal for end time. This is what it says. One of an infinite number of potential outcomes. So this is to say that what we are witnessing is just one way that it could happen. This time way depicts the desolate future of Azeroth should Deathwing fail to be stopped. Nozdormu has identified a powerful anomaly that exists in this moment and bars access to the past. In hope of retrieving the demon soul, the powerful creature from out of time lives alone amidst the time-twisted echoes of the past. So, of course, this being that's being referred to is Murozond, which is an anagram for Nozdormu. And just a quick description on Murozond. Murozond is the leader of the Infinite Dragonflight, as far as we are aware. And Murozond is actually a time-twisted, maddened version of Nozdormu. And this happened. This is so weird to me. I've never been quite clear on why the Titans did this. But apparently Nozdormu went mad because the Titans chose, when bestowing him his power, to show Nozdormu his own death. I don't know why the Titans did that, because that seems to me that it's the direct reason for why Nozdormu went mad. And you have to think, when we're talking about time in this supposed linear progression of time, this true timeline that the Bronze Dragonflight are meant to protect, you would kind of assume that maybe Aman'Thul, who gave Nozdormu his powers, the god of time, would be able to see maybe what was going to happen to Nozdormu. But I digress. I suppose there's no way that I can truly prove that, but when we're talking about god-level entities, creators and crafters potentially of worlds and stuff like that, I would like to think that they're pretty competent in their domain of power, but I digress. I'm not sure why the Titans did this, but this is what apparently drove Nozdormu mad. So, the Infinite Dragonflight, who Murozond leads, are kind of interesting. There's some weird quotes from them, and in the other dungeons found in the Caverns of Time, let's use Black Morass as an example, we go in and we find that the Infinite are punching holes in time, trying to stop Medivh from bringing in the demonic orcs that are being basically led by the Burning Legion, the Horde, essentially, the first Horde. And there's some interesting quotes from some of the Infinite Dragonflight. Like, some of the Infinites spawn in. I think it's one of the bosses says, think of how many lives could be saved. If you leave now, you could still live. Basically, there's quotes urging and talking about, oh, how if we stop what's going on here, we could save a bunch of lives. And that's, I'm not so sure that would necessarily be true, but regardless, and I say that because the demonic Burning Legion functions in a realm known as the Twisting Nether that transcends the timelines of the mortal plane of reality. So I don't really know how the Infinite Dragonflight had planned to do this, but it seems like their motive, their MO, is to protect life. That's kind of weird, because that's still the point of the Bronze Dragonflight, and the Infinite are supposed to be maddened versions of them. But let's move on. When you go to Murozond at the end of the End Time dungeon, he says to you, "The End Time I once called this place. I had not seen by then. I did not know. You hope to, what? Stop me? Here? Change the fate I worked so tirelessly to weave? You crawl unwitting like a blind, writhing worm towards endless madness and despair. I have witnessed the true end time. This is a blessing you simply cannot comprehend." When you pull him, he says, "Mortals, I cannot follow," or Nozdormu says, "Mortals, I cannot follow you any further, accept my blessing, and use the hourglass of time to defeat Murozond." And he says, "The hourglass's power is exhausted. No more games, mortals. Relent or perish. The sand has run out. Time ends. Your time has come." And when you kill Murozond, this is perhaps the most interesting quote of them all. He says, "You know not what you have done. Amenthul, what I have seen." And this is really interesting, because there's some different perceptions on what Murozond is saying here. I take it as, "You know not what you have done. What I have seen." Amenthul. He's saying, "Amenthul, what I have seen." He's referring to Amenthul the Titan. I think that he's basically saying, you don't know what I've seen that Amenthul is going to do. You don't know. Some, however, they do take this as kind of Murozond being in his death throes and basically saying, "Amenthul," like calling out to Amenthul. But the way that it sounds when Murozond says it, it doesn't come off that way to me at all. And it doesn't really make sense, considering Murozond is supposed to be the maddened version of Nozdormu, right? Nozdormu says, after the fight, "At last it has come to pass, the moment of my demise. The loop is closed. My future self will cause no more harm. Still, in time I will fall to madness, and you, heroes, will vanquish me. The cycle will repeat. So it goes. What matters is that Azeroth did not fall, that we survived to fight another day. All that matters is this moment." And what exactly Nozdormu means by this, I'm not sure, but he's saying, in time, I'm going to go crazy. Again, this is going to actually still happen. But see, when we get into the ideas that surround the laws of time and the laws of physics, and we start trying to relate the real world as we know it to the game, this gets really wishy-washy. It creates a bit of a time paradox. That's kind of understandable, considering that the whole of the Infinite Dragonflight is kind of a time paradox. But the interesting thing is what he says when he mentions, "I have witnessed the true end time. This is a blessing you simply cannot comprehend." And something being beyond comprehension to us would seem like, I would say, madness. But what he's saying here is that what we're seeing, Murozond, what this fate that he has weaved, is not the true end time. That's really important to recognize, because when we start looking at the echoes of these characters like Bane, Jaina, Tyrande, and Sylvanas, all characters who have had very important roles in BFA so far, weird. And we start reading them, listen to this. It doesn't quite match up with what's happening in the game. It's very close, but not quite. So this is what it says for Bane. "Enraged by his failure to protect the world, and most importantly, the Horde, this time-ravaged shade of Bane Bloodhoof lingers within the ruins of the Obsidian Dragon Shrine. Although he is still as powerful as the Tauren High Chieftain from the present, within this shattered future of Azeroth, this guilt-ridden echo is little more than a discordant vessel of unquenchable malice and anger." Does that sound like Bane in BFA? No, not quite, but is Bane going through trial and tribulation at the moment to try to protect Azeroth and, more importantly, protect the Horde? Isn't that kind of exactly what Bane is doing right now in BFA? Let's go to the next one, Jaina Proudmoore. The tormented fragment of Jaina Proudmoore has been split and infused within the shattered pieces of her staff. To restore balance to the timeways, this echo must be defeated. However, the devastating magical power possessed by the once proud ruler of Theramore is hardly lost to her time-havocked specter. In this future Azeroth, she is only divided and waiting. Again, Jaina being a very upfront character in BFA, but Jaina has been able to overcome her guilt, hasn't she? She's been able to overcome this terrible burden that she's been carrying with her for Varian and for her father and for countless others that she felt she was responsible for the downfall of. And Jaina seems, at least from what I can tell, to have come out a stronger and more powerful and independent and quite honestly, one of the best written characters in WoW history. But she's come out better on the other side. Jaina seems very with herself at this moment. She has come to terms with the mistakes that she's made in the past and forgiven the most important person of all. That's herself. Jaina has forgiven herself. She's not lost as we would expect in the end time, but she's still very forefront and is, again, like Bane, going through these trials and tribulations in BFA. Sylvanas Windrunner. Spawned from shattered timeways and cloistered within the Ruby Dragon Shrine, a maddened fragment of the Forsaken's leader, Sylvanas Windrunner waits restlessly. Having lost everything and unable to find peace, this tormented echo aches for a chance to unleash her dark fury at anything still living within these barren, time-twisted wastes. So it's interesting because in this instance, Sylvanas is actually raising undead, but she has some interesting powers, blighted arrows and holy shot, etc. But I found for Sylvanas that her location was the most interesting one. She's in the Ruby Dragon Shrine. The Ruby Dragon Shrine. You mean the shrine that would be home to the Red Dragonflight, whose leader is Alexstrasza the Life Binder? I seem to remember earlier in the expansion, Dalaran Summermoon saying to Sylvanas Windrunner, and I think it was the Warbringers for Sylvanas, you wage war against life itself, and that is a war you'll never win. Which is quite interesting because I think that applies at a much grander scale, but once again, I digress. She's in the Ruby Dragon Shrine, and behind Sylvanas, there's a big, ravaged, dead tree. It's blackened. It almost kind of looks like it's been set on fire, but not quite. We couldn't go that far with it, obviously. And there are crows that are sitting up on the branches of it. Now, Sylvanas, it says here, she's lost everything and unable to find peace. Well, what does that mean, unable to find peace? There's a couple ways that you can come to peace with yourself. You can have inner peace, a form of enlightenment, so to speak. There's also the idea of finding peace in the end. Rest in peace, right? Dying. She's unable to find peace. Interesting. As we're moving further and further in BFA, Sylvanas is losing more and more Valkyr as well. And inevitably, if she does run out and dies, Sylvanas may know peace. She may be a damned soul to languish in the blackened depths of the void for all eternity. Who the fuck knows? But the point is that she hasn't yet lost everything. And I still think that in BFA there is a chance for Sylvanas to find peace. See, these echoes are so fucking close to what's happening in BFA, but they're just not quite there. Or maybe we are just not quite there yet. I'm gonna tie this all together at the end here. Let's talk about Tyrande. Once the leader of the Night Elves and High Priestess of Elune, this time-twisted fragment of Tyrande Whisperwind now wanders the wastes of the desolate future of Azeroth. Enveloped in a perpetual midnight, she has all but lost sight of the comforting light of Elune. Now, in this scenario, the area that you go to where you fight Tyrande, first off, I want to say that it is the Green Dragon Shrine. Pardon me if I am incorrect in that. However, it is completely dark, and there are beams of Elune's light that shine down from the sky, and you have to pull the adds in the room into them in order to see the adds to fight them. Well, while we're fighting Tyrande herself, she says some things we're going to talk about here, but she also uses some abilities like Dark Moonlight, Piercing Gaze of Elune, Lunar Guidance, Tears of Elune, Stardust, etc. But Elune is essentially wielding dark lunar magic in this scenario. Something that we are literally seeing Tyranda's wielding it. Tyranda's doing that in BFA right now. We just saw her do this ancient and, according to Ashara, forbidden blood ritual in order to invoke the vengeance of Elune and basically become Elune's wrath. There's also a quote from N'Zoth, and it could be applying to Sylvanas, it could be applying to Tyrande, it could be both, but it says, "The fall of night reveals her true face. She will bring only ruin." And I think that it's very possible that this could be applied to Tyrande Whisperwind. The fall of night, the night elves, the literal burning of the tree. And we see this eclipse and this dark invocation happening by Tyrande. But some of the things she says are very interesting. Nozdormu immediately says, "There is an unnatural darkness to this place, a perpetual midnight. Take caution, heroes, and do not stray from the light." Tyrande says, "There's nothing left for you here. Nothing but death and sorrow. The darkness surrounds you. The light of Elune is your only salvation. The moonlight can bring rest to your weary souls in this forgotten place. Give yourselves to the night. Elune will guide you from this mortal prison. You have chosen a path of darkness. Mother Moon, guide my hand. Allow me to bring rest to these misbegotten souls. Let the peaceful light of Elune soothe your souls in this dark time." She says, "Eyes of night, pierce this darkness. Spear of Elune, drive back the night." She has a lunar guidance phase where she says, "Moon goddess, your light dims. I am lost without your guidance." Second phase, she says, "The darkness closes in. My vision is clouded." The tears of Elune. "Mother Moon, I can no longer see your light. Your daughter is alone in the darkness." Elune guide you through the night. When she kills one of you, Elune guide you. And the last thing, when she dies, I can see the light of the moon so clearly now. It is beautiful. So, wow. Tyrande definitely has invoked the power of Elune most recently. She is walking a path of darkness at the moment. And so once again, it's so very similar to what's happening in current times in BFA, but not exactly. But that's where I come to the main point. Murozond says, "This is a blessing you simply cannot comprehend." But Murozond has seen the true end time. But that we saw, that wasn't it. That wasn't it. But according to Nozdormu, it is coming. And I'm telling you, it's coming in BFA. Do you know what end time means in a religious sense? Let's read about it real quick. Because there's several different religious kind of archetypes, if you will, that include stuff on the end time. This is what it says here. I'm just on Wikipedia, just as a quick source. The end time, also called end times, end of time, end of days, last days, final days, doomsday, or eschaton, I hope I'm saying that right, is a future time period described variously in the eschatologies of several world religions, both Abrahamic and non-Abrahamic, which teach that world events will reach a final climax. The Abrahamic faiths maintain a linear cosmology with end-time scenarios containing themes of transformation and redemption. In Judaism, the term end of days make reference to the Messianic age and includes an ingathering of the exiled Jewish diaspora, the coming of the Messiah, the resurrection of the righteous, and the world to come. Some sects of Christianity depict the end time as a period of tribulation that precedes the second coming of Christ, who will face the Antichrist along with his power structure and usher in the kingdom of God. In Islam, the Day of Judgment is preceded by the appearance of the Al-Masih al-Dajjal. Al-Dajjal, I'm so sorry if I'm saying these wrong, but it's difficult to say this. And followed by the descending of Isa, Jesus. Isa will triumph over the false Messiah, or the Antichrist, which will lead to a sequence of events that will end with the sun rising from the west and the beginning of the Qiyamah, Judgment Day. Listen to this one. Non-Abrahamic faiths tend to have more cyclical worldviews, with end-time eschatologies characterized by decay, redemption, and rebirth. In Hinduism, the end time occurs when Kalki, the final incarnation of Vishnu, descends atop a white horse and brings an end to the current Kali Yuga. In Buddhism, the Buddha predicted that his teachings would be forgotten after 5,000 years, followed by turmoil. A bodhisattva named Maitreya, I hope I'm saying these right, will appear and rediscover the teaching of Dharma. The ultimate destruction of the world will then come through 7 suns. Since the development of the concept of deep time in the 18th century and the calculation of the estimated age of the Earth, scientific discourse about end times is centered on the ultimate fate of the universe. Theories have concluded the Big Rip, Big Crunch, Big Bounce, and Big Freeze, heat death. I can't go too much more into this stuff, but the whole point is we have multiple themes from different kinds of religions, some of which actually include themes such as rebirth. Something that I've actually been saying is the general theme of WoW is that in order to transcend to the light and be reborn through creation, okay, Pyromancer, you have to die and go to the shadow. And this is a theme that exists not just in WoW. And here's the thing, is that I think that once again, I'm going to go back to this, Sargeras and the Burning Legion, their goal was through flame and the soot and the embers that would remain after the destruction of everything, that life would flourish once again. It's a very Thanos-esque kind of way of looking at things. You know, gather the Infinity Stones, wipe out half of life so the other half can flourish. But Thanos, there was flaws to what Thanos thought. And the thing is that hope and the things that mortal beings and immortal beings in that universe are able to come together and do stops the inevitable that Thanos believes that he is. But the point that I'm really getting at is that we are approaching the true end time in WoW. And here's the thing, I don't know if that end time is designed and basically laid out by Aman'Thul. I don't know if that's what Murozond was saying, but to me, that's kind of how it seems. And this is very abstract, and if you haven't watched a lot of my previous videos, you're probably not going to be able to get behind this, but I'm going to say this anyway. I am of the opinion that Aenar, the Lifebinder, the only female Titan in the Pantheon, the only one who didn't get captured by Sargeras, the only one who somehow, for some reason, had 2 different dragon aspects, the only one who didn't have to undergo any torment from the Burning Legion or any of that bullshit, she has somehow, and I think Chronicle gives us hints at how this is done, assumed control of the Titan Pantheon. Aman'Thul sits on the throne, but he's not the leader. And I think that there's tons of little subtle hints that they've put in the game to illustrate this. I would seriously recommend you watch my videos on those because I'll be honest, I think they're among some of my best videos. But the point is that I don't think that Aman'Thul Time himself is necessarily willingly on Aenar's side. And given that Sargeras, according to what Aman'Thul calls him, and according to what Chronicle and not Chronicle, pardon me, what the original RPG lore says, Aman'Thul and Sargeras are supposed to be brothers. And it would not entirely blow me away if Aman'Thul was in some way, some kind of fucked up way, helping Sargeras actually orchestrate the end of time. I can't prove that, but I think that'd be pretty fucking crazy. It doesn't matter because N'Zoth is on the way, Ashara is on the way, and we are being told that we're going to learn these great truths. His eyes behold every truth, every unnumbered crime, every path, every truth. The truth will be revealed to you. At last, embrace the truth of Shadow. All this crazy shit all these fucking crazy quotes we've been looking at, we've all been talking about. Bellier's talking about him. Talius was talking about him. Wowhead's talking about him. We have all these insane quotes and all this shit. Sargeras took a sword and stabbed in the fucking planet. Why would we not come to the conclusion that the end of days, the end time, is rapidly approaching? You have NPCs like the Twilight Hermit from one of the Island Expedition quests who literally fucking says to you, the end of this world is fast approaching. Take my Azerite, friend. I have no need of it any longer. We have all this stuff pointing to the end, and with the infinite being data mined, with more Twilight Dragons being data mined, this true end time, this ultimate finality, I think that it's rapidly approaching, and the player base is, unfortunately, it seems to me right now, so downtrodden because of the overall progression of BFA that it's being overlooked. I'm telling you guys, some Final Fantasy 14 shit is on the way. Like, there's gonna be an apocalyptic world breaking thing that is I don't know what the fuck it is. I don't know if Sargeras is going to succeed and burn this world to cinders. I don't know if the Titan Pantheon is going to glass this fucking planet and light forge it or re-originate it. I don't know. But there's been hinting at fire all throughout the expansion, making kindling from our suffering, stirring the embers of resentment. Not to mention that there has been so much that's been hinting to this, and so I just wanted to bring this to your guys' attention and talk about the end time. Go run the dungeon, because maybe you'll notice something that I haven't seen. But right now, what it kind of seems like to me is that the Infinite Dragonflight isn't trying to bring the end of all things. It almost seems more like the Infinite Dragonflight is trying to stop the end of all things, and they were driven mad trying to do so, that's kind of fucking crazy. So, given that Alexstrasza, again, this is another weird thing. Alexstrasza the Lifebinder and Nozdormu are the only two active, besides Caligos, the only two active remaining dragon aspects that haven't been completely corrupted, and Nozdormu is allegedly already doomed to become corrupt. How is it that the Lifebinder of all of the fucking dragons is the one who hasn't been corrupted yet? Sure, she got captured and was used as basically a cow to birth a shitload of dragons that they experimented on, but she herself has never been corrupted by the nightmare. She's never been driven mad by like Nozdormu was, never like Malygos, and certainly not like Neltharion. So again, what the fuck is going on where these entities and beings tied to the Lifebinder seem to live and well, that sounds kind of dumb, but the entities tied to the Lifebinder seem to live longer? No shit, but they seem to be able to avoid any torment and stuff like that for as long as possible. Fuck, even Ysera was taken by the nightmare, and Elune reached down and saved her ass. So that's just very interesting to me that this is kind of all transpiring in the way that we're seeing it happen. So that's pretty much it. Like, this is kind of what I wanted to talk about today, is that these echoes and what we see happening are they're very close to what's happening in WoW right now, but they're not exact. And so I don't know realistically what's going to happen. Hopefully it turns out well for us, but it might not. I'm gonna be honest with you guys. I don't know how we're gonna manage to allegedly beat Ashara or what's going to come after that, because N'Zoth has some quotes where he's saying some shit like, "Only I alone can save you from what is to come." And there's some quotes also from characters like Sylvanas, who says to Nathanos, this is data mined, "You know what is to come." Like, keep focus on the end game. We're in the end game now. Stay focused. You know what is to come. So I think that thing that is to come is also the same thing that N'Zoth is talking about. So I don't know what that is. I don't know. But we're going to find out very fucking soon. And a lot of my theories are either going to be very rapidly proven correct or very rapidly proven wrong. And I honestly can't wait to find out. And either way, I hope that it's something cool and interesting that we get, because I think Blizzard needs it right now. I think WoW needs it right now. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you made it all the way to the end, drop a like on the video if you enjoyed it. I certainly appreciate you watching all the way to the end. Shout out to my patrons, my Twitch subs, even all you guys, all my YouTube subs. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you're new to my channel and you enjoyed this talk with me today, go ahead and hit that subscribe button so that you never miss a new video in the future. You can follow me on Twitter, Twitch, and actually on Instagram as well. On Instagram, I'm actually just going to be posting mostly like actual outdoor photography, not too much stuff about WoW. So if you want WoW stuff, Twitter's the best place to follow me. So anyways, you guys, feel free to check out my Patreon. Link to that in the description below. I appreciate you very much. Stay awesome, and until next time, I'll see you guys later. Peace!